Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go over a very quick and easy image processing tutorial on how to process all of your light frames and calibration frames into a single image of something in the night sky, and we're going to be using Siril and Gimp. So the idea behind this is that we want all the software to be free and easily accessible to newcomers. And there are plenty of very detailed tutorials out there on how to use PixInsight for people who want to fork out $200 and pay for the software. So the first thing you want to do after you download the software, link is provided in the description below, is organize all of your images into 4 folders. Each of these is named accordingly to your sort of calibration frame, or in this case, data frame, so for the light frames. So this is what a single light frame looks like, and I'm going to put it all into a single nice image. I also have all the calibration frames, so I've got the flat frames. This is the flat frames. And I have the dark and bias frames. So once you're in here and you're actually in Siril, the first thing you're going to want to do is set your home directory. So this little home button in the top left corner, you're going to go ahead and click that. And you're going to go find the folder that has all your calibration frames in it. So I called this guy Trifid. I'm going to hit open. The next thing you're going to do in order to start stacking is you're going to go to scripts, and I do OSC preprocessing. Okay. Alright, so once you see this message saying total execution time and 3 minutes, whatever, script execution successfully finished, that means that your image has finished stacking, and you can go ahead and open the stacked image. So we'll hit open. And you'll see it right here, result.fit. I'm going to open it up. So if you click on this tab right here that says RGB, this is the unstretched color image. And you can actually look at the individual channels, the red, green, and blue channels over here in these tabs. You can also adjust the white point and black point by dragging these sliders to show just how much detail is kind of there. And the first thing that I typically do is I'll go in and do some background removal. So if you look over here and I drag the white point up, you'll see all this haze in the background, and that's from light pollution. We can remove that by going to image processing and hitting background extraction. We'll generate a grid of points throughout the image. This slide right here will adjust the tolerance, so it will adjust how close it'll put these grids to points of light. Ideally, since you're trying to measure the background, you don't want it over, say, the nebula, because you don't want to measure that as the background. I usually drag it to about just over 1, and then we'll hit compute background. And what this is going to do is it's going to generate a model of the background and remove it from the image. Just hit apply. The next thing we can do is we can go to image processing and we'll do color calibration. And what this will do is it will allow us to make sure that the stars and everything have the correct colors by comparing them to known data about the stars themselves. So we're gonna, since this is a stacked image, we already have the RA, declination, and pixel size in the actual image metadata. So if you use like a dedicated astro camera, you can just hit this button right here and it puts it on for you. If not, you're going to have to manually input the right ascension and declination of the center of your image. You're also going to want to hit downsample image and then unhit auto crop. Once you have everything set up, you can go ahead and hit OK. And what it's going to do is it's going to take a second. It's going to find the center of the field of view and it's going to apply the calibration. And once we see this message right here, we know that the script is finished. Alright, so this right here is only a preview. There's no actual stretch that's been applied. This is what the image actually looks like right now, and what we need to do is stretch it. Now you can do that in Siril, but I really don't like doing it because the interface is pretty bad. So what I generally do, give me a second, is I will save this and I'll call it stack1 or whatever. And I'll save it as a TIFF file. to make it easier to import into Gimp, which is what I'm going to use next. Gimp is somewhat of a Photoshop clone. It does basically everything Photoshop will do, except it's free. Would highly recommend it if you don't want to pay a lot of money, because it will do everything we need it to do. So once I've saved this image, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to open up Gimp. Alright, now that we're in Gimp, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open our image. So we're going to go into Trifid and we're going to select stack1.tiff and open it. So this is the same image that we just processed, and now we're going to go to Colors and Levels. So this right here is how we stretch the histogram. You'll see somewhat of a histogram over here. This is the black point, this is the midpoint, and this is the white point. By stretching the midpoint, we'll shift all of the data for dimmer pixels all the way up towards what would be the middle of the image. And I typically will start by bringing the midpoint all the way up to where this spike is. This is where all our actual data is. And go ahead and hit OK. So now you'll notice there's a lot of white haze and everything, and we're going to get rid of that by moving the black point. To do that, I typically go to Colors and Curves, and this right here is the black point, same as before in the Levels menu, but I can drag the actual line in the curves all the way down to the edge of the data right here. And I can repeat this process several times. So we can grab the midpoint, bring him out over here, and then we can go and drag the black point. And what we're starting to see is a really neat image of the Trifid Nebula. All the nebulosities brought out, and we can start seeing a lot of stars and everything all around the image. Now, unfortunately, there's a few artifacts, like the flat frame didn't get rid of some illumination in the corner, and we can just crop that out in a second. Go ahead, adjust our black point so that it's just at the edge of the data. You don't want to drag the black point over into the data because you'll start clipping out some of your actual data, and that doesn't look very pretty. So generally you want to keep the black point just at the edge of the actual data so that you're not clipping out any faint details like this nebulosity over here. And now we can go back in and stretch the midpoint some more. And while I'm here, I can go ahead and crop in, get rid of some of the crap at the edges. I want to go ahead and crop the selection. Shift the black point over some more. Maybe crop out just a little bit more of that corner over here. And now we can also ramp up the saturation. So it does look a little undersaturated here. This is kind of just pink, and I want it to be a little bit darker. So what we can do is we can go to Colors, we can click on Saturation, and we can just ramp this up. And that brings out a lot more vibrance within the nebula itself. And there we go. This is a processed, finished image of the Trifid Nebula. I can go ahead and save this. I usually save the XDF file, and then when I export it to put it online, I will save it as a JPEG. Call it something like final.jpg. So now, if I open this up, we can compare what the raw light frames look like. So let's just dredge up some random light frame. This is what the raw light frame looked like. And this is the final image. As you can see, there is a massive difference in terms of quality, And this is why astrophotographers prefer to stack images and use calibration frames and lots of post-processing, because it really brings out all the additional detail that you just won't see in a single frame. All right, that's all for today. If you like the video, please be sure to like and subscribe and comment. And I will have more videos out on the channel whenever I feel like it. Have a good one.